to the seaside today," shouted Daddy Pig. "Me," said Peppa. "And me," said George. "I've packed the barbecue in the camper van," said Daddy Pig. Mummy Pig came out of the house with a hamper of food. "Let's go," shouted Peppa. They all climbed into the camper van and off they went. Eventually, they arrived at the seaside. "This seems like a good place," said Daddy Pig. Peppa ran straight down to the sea, while Mummy and Daddy Pig got the barbecue out. George tried putting up the picnic table, but needed a bit of help from Peppa. Daddy Pig unfurled the awning on the camper van to give them a bit of shade. "That's better," said Mummy Pig. "Can we go into the sea now?" said Peppa. They all got changed and ran down to the sea. "Stay close to the shore," said Mummy Pig, and they all waded into the sea. They started splashing each other, having a really fun time. "Where's George?" said Mummy suddenly. They looked around but couldn't see him. "There he is," said Mummy, and they saw George out on the small island. "I told you not to wander off," said Mummy. "It's not very deep," said George. "I walked over, but I'm a bit tired now." Just then they heard a train coming. It stopped by the beach. "It's Dora the Explorer," said Peppa. Dora got off the train. "Is everything all right?" said Dora. "Well, George is on that island, and although the water's not very deep, it's a bit cold," said Mummy Pig. "Don't worry," said Dora. "I was going to have a row in my boat anyway. I'll fetch him back." Daddy Pig told George to wait for Dora. They all helped Dora into the water with her boat, and she rowed across to the island. George jumped in and Dora rowed back. George got out and said sorry to everyone. "I won't wander off again," he said. "It's a bit dangerous, isn't it?" "Thanks, Dora," said Daddy Pig. "Will you join us for something to eat?" "I'd love to," she said. While Peppa and George had a shower, Mummy and Daddy Pig started the barbecue. They all gathered around ready to eat the food and agreed that it had been a really great day, despite George's little adventure. "Who wants to get some pumpkins for the party?" asked Daddy Pig. "Me," shouted Peppa. "And me," agreed George. "I'll just get the camper van ready," replied Daddy Pig. "We'll need more room for all the pumpkins." And off he went. Daddy Pig drove the camper van up to the house, and Peppa and George jumped in. "Don't be too long," said Mummy Pig. "We still need to decorate the house." "We'll be quick," they all shouted, and off they went. It didn't take too long to reach the pumpkin patch, and Peppa and George hopped out eagerly. "Wow!" exclaimed Peppa. "Look at all those pumpkins." "You pick them and I'll load them into the van," replied Daddy Pig, and so Peppa and George got to work. "Careful, George," cried Peppa, but it was too late. George had fallen into a rotten pumpkin, and got it stuck on his head. Peppa helped to pull it off and they continued. Well done, said Daddy Pig. I think we have enough now. Let's go home. So they all climbed into the van. But when Daddy Pig tried to start the engine, it made a terrible noise. He got out to take a closer look. I'm afraid the motor needs fixing, Daddy sighed. And Grandpa Dog is a bit tied up at the moment. We'll just have to wait for him. But we need to get home to help Mummy decorate the house, cried Peppa. But just then they heard a familiar whistle. It's Thomas, shouted Peppa. Thomas stopped. Oh dear, are you stuck? He asked. Yes, replied Peppa. We need to get our pumpkins home. No problem, he replied. You can pop them in my empty truck and I'll give you a lift. Oh, thank you, smiled Daddy Pig. And they unloaded all the pumpkins into Thomas's truck. You two go with Thomas and I'll wait for Grandpa Dog, said Daddy Pig. So Peppa and George hopped into Thomas's truck. See you later, shouted Daddy Pig, and they waved. They were nearly home when disaster struck. A log slipped off a pile of wood and fell under the pumpkin truck. The truck derailed, spilling the pumpkins all over the road. Oh no, cried Peppa. What are we going to do? The truck is too heavy for us to put back on the rails. Don't worry, replied Thomas. Jack is on his way and he'll help us. Sure enough, Jack appeared. Peppa and George moved the log away from the track and Jack began to heave Thomas's truck back onto the rails. He also managed to scoop all the pumpkins up and put them back into the truck. Thanks, Jack, said Thomas gratefully. No problem, said Jack, and off he went. Peppa and George climbed back into Thomas's truck and they continued their journey. Mummy Pig was relieved to see them when they arrived and they unloaded all the pumpkins. Mummy Pig then thanked Thomas for his help. You're very welcome, he replied, and disappeared. Luckily, Grandpa Dog had fixed the camper van and Daddy Pig could drive home while Mummy, Peppa and George decorated the house. Wow, he cried, the house looks amazing. Well done, everyone. We've just got enough time to get changed before the party.
Susie and Candy were exploring the new castle in the playground when... Oh, that scared me, said Candy. Sorry, said Pedro. Still getting used to these levers. Come on, said Susie. Let's go on the seesaw. Here comes Peppa and George, said Pedro. Peppa and George arrived on Thomas. This is a big play castle, said Peppa. I'll open the gate, shouted down Pedro. They went up the castle. George could only just see over the top. Down below, Danny, Emily and Rebecca were on the roundabout. Candy and Susie were on the treehouse. George then climbed up the beanstalk. "Be careful, George," shouted Peppa. "I bet you thought I was going to fall," said George, carefully getting off at the top. Rebecca was hiding and Emily had to find her. It was quite easy, really. Emily joined Susie and Candy at the top of the castle. "Come up here, George," shouted Danny. George was on the seesaw and had an idea. He asked Emily if she could jump onto the other side of the seesaw and he would be catapulted up to the treehouse. But George hadn't thought this through. He was only a little pig, and Emily, although only a young girl, was in fact a young elephant. She jumped, and George went flying high into the sky. Luckily, he landed in the pond. But the ducks weren't very happy about it. Peppa and Pedro went running over to George. "Ow, my ankle hurts," said George. Pedro went for help. The new hospital got a call about the accident. Daddy and Mummy Pig were on duty. "I'll go and get him," said Daddy Pig, and he got into the ambulance. "Now, what hurts, George?" "It's my ankle. I can't walk." Daddy Pig got the stretcher out and got George into the ambulance. "Just lay still, George," said Daddy, "and we'll get you to hospital." "I hope he's all right," said Peppa. They got George out of the ambulance and Nurse Mummy Pig examined him. "I think he's sprained his ankle," said Mummy Pig. "Can I have a bandage, Daddy Pig?" "Here you are," said Daddy Pig. And he sat down at the computer, checking the football scores. "You'll have to rest, George," said Mummy Pig. "Will he be all right?" said Peppa. "Yes, he will, but no more jumping in duck ponds for a while."
Peppa and her family were going to the beach for the day. When they got out, Peppa and George ran straight into the sea. "George, come back and get your rubber ring," said Mummy Pig. stay with Peppa, said Daddy Pig. I will, replied George, and he headed back into the sea. Meanwhile, Daddy Pig set up the barbecue. It looked delicious. Peppa, George, do you want to have a go on my boat? He asked. Oh yes, yes, they replied. So they headed over to the boat. Now, you guys go on the yellow board and I'll pull you along with the boat, explained Daddy Pig. Are you ready? He asked. Yeah, they replied. So off they went. Did you have fun? Asked Daddy Pig. Oh yeah, it was great, they replied. The barbecue must nearly be done now, said Daddy Pig. But can't we do this again? Asked George. After lunch, replied Daddy Pig, and everybody left for lunch. Well, almost everyone. George wanted another go with the boat. He climbed aboard, and off he went. Lunch is ready, said Daddy Pig. Where's George? Asked Peppa. And where's my boat? Asked Daddy Pig. Oh no, said Peppa. He's over there. Get back here now, George, cried Mummy Pig. Okay, he sulked. Uh-oh, the boat won't start. Oh no, I'm stuck out here, he cried. How is he going to get back? Asked Daddy Pig. I know who to call, said Peppa. So she contacted the Paw Patrols. Guys, George is in trouble, said Ryder. So he looked through the telescope. He's stuck out at sea, so we need you, Zuma. They all went down the slide and left. We're here, said Ryder, and he changed into his swimsuit. Okay, what are we going to do? He asked. We can swim to him, suggested Zuma. Oh, no we can't, said Chase. There's a shark. I can go and get my hovercraft, said Zuma. Good idea, said Ryder, so Zuma left. The shark was circling George. Suddenly, it swam away. The shark's gone, said Ryder. I wonder why. A whale then came to the surface. Hop on my back and I'll swim you to the shore. So he did. Thank you, said George. Did you scare the shark away? Shark? There was no shark, replied the whale. Turns out the shark was just a pirate all along. Oh George, you are naughty, said Mummy Pig. So the whale swam away. Zuma then returned with his hovercraft and he hopped in and pushed the boat back to shore. Would you guys like to stay here at the beach with us? Asked Mummy Pig. We'd love to, replied Ryder. So Ryder helped Mummy and Daddy Pig cook lunch, while the pups went in the sea with Peppa and George.
Daddy, why is George crying? I don't know, Peppa. Maybe this will cheer him up. Who wants to go to the seaside today? I think George does, said Peppa. Go on, Peppa, you get changed as well and I'll get the car, said Daddy Pig. Mummy Pig, George and Peppa got in and off they went. They parked on the beach and all got out. Can we go for a swim? Said Peppa. OK, said Mummy Pig, and they got changed. They ran down to the sea and had a splash around. It's a bit cold, isn't it, George? Said Peppa. Let's get changed. Can we play with the ball, Daddy? Said Peppa. Here you are, said Mummy Pig. Then George slipped and kicked the ball out to sea. He started crying again. Mummy, George is crying again, said Peppa. Thought Mummy. I know. Who wants an ice cream? George headed straight for the ice cream shop. There was lots to choose from, but they all chose a strawberry cone. Then George dropped his in the sand. Daddy Pig arrived. George, please stop crying, said Daddy Pig. Who wants to go to the fun fair? George was there first. They all had a fantastic time and George never cried again. It was snowing at the Paw Patrol lookout. Ryder looked down at the Paw Patroller covered in snow. Oh, I hope we don't get any calls today. On the other side of town, Peppa and George ran outside. Snow, they said. Hooray, hooray! Mummy Pig told them they could play, but not to go too far. Candy Cat turned up to play with Peppa as George wandered off. Candy and Peppa rolled around in the snow. At the lookout, Chase and Marshall were playing in the snow as well, building a snowman. Ryder and Rubble kept watch. Meanwhile, George was climbing a snowy hill. "Ooh, careful, George." George has always wanted to go snowboarding, but he doesn't have a snowboard. He's just pulled one of Mummy Pig's best trays out from under his jumper. "No, George, don't even think about it." But George didn't think. He jumped on the tray and actually started quite well. "Oh, watch out, George!" Too late. George landed at the top of a tree. At the lookout, George's accident had been seen and the alarm raised. "I'll try and get Everest on her pup tag," said Ryder. Everest was enjoying the snow, but when Ryder called, she knew there was an emergency. She immediately jumped into her snowplow and set off to find George. "Ah, there you are, George. I'll just get my ladder out." George got down slowly and was relieved to be on the ground again. "I think you need a proper snowboard and some lessons, George," said Everest. "Come on, I'll take you home." Mummy Pig was wondering where George had gone and was very pleased to see him. "Here you are," said Everest, "and this is your tray, Mummy Pig." "So that's where it is," said Mummy Pig. "Can I have a ride in your snowplow?" said Peppa. "Of course," said Everest, who gave Peppa a ride. Then Candy had a go. Everybody thanked Everest, and off she went.
Today, Peppa and George are going on a picnic. "Hold on, guys," said Thomas. "I just need to refill my water tank. Won't be long." I think George is more interested in that boat than he is the picnic. Oh no, he's drifting into the middle of the lake. And the paddles are still on the land. "Help! I'm stuck!" cried George. "Don't worry," said Thomas. "I know who can help us." Ah, the minions. They're always full of bright ideas. A log. Not a bad idea.
Nope. Uh-oh, run! Run! 2. Aha.
Ah, rope. You can pull the boat in.
Woo.
Oh, or maybe not.
Aha.
Yes, another boat. Good, great idea. Oh no,
What?
it's sinking.
Uh-oh. Oh no. Ah, run! Run!
Only one idea left. Let's hope it works. Ah, a pirate minion. Perfect. Oh, well done. Oh, George, you are naughty, but at least you're safe now. Oh, I think the minions wanted to lift too.
Wait! Slow down!
It was a lovely sunny day. Peppa and George were taking a trip to the beach. Mummy Pig came out of the house to see them off. "Are you sure you want to take your toy dinosaur with you?" asked Mummy Pig. "You might lose it." But George was not going to let go of his favourite toy. Thomas arrived with Emily and Rebecca. "Can you take care of George?" asked Mummy Pig to Peppa, "and make sure he looks after his dinosaur." "OK, Mummy," said Peppa, and she hopped on to Thomas. George hopped on too. "Have fun," said Mummy Pig, and off they went. They were steaming along nicely when George decided to be a bit naughty. First, he put his dinosaur on his head. Then he stood up on the truck. And then he stood up and put the dinosaur on his head. "Be careful, George," shouted Peppa, but it was too late. George leaned out and his dinosaur got caught in a tree. The branches of the tree tore a big hole in the toy and the stuffing started to fall out. George was very upset. Luckily, Thomas noticed something was wrong and stopped at the next station. George and Peppa got out. "We'll have to go back to the tree," said Peppa to her friends. "You carry on ahead and we'll catch the next train and meet you at the beach." So Thomas continued the journey and Peppa and George went back to find George's toy. It wasn't very far away and they soon found it. "Oh no," cried Peppa, "it's broken." George was really sad. "You were very silly on Thomas," she said, "and that's what happens when you're naughty. But don't worry, I have a plan," she continued. Doc McStuffins received a message that there was a broken toy which needed fixing. "I must help," she said, and climbed into her new mobile clinic. Off she went on her emergency call. She soon reached Peppa and George. "Oh dear, what have we here?" she said to George. "Can you fix him?" asked George hopefully. "Yes, I'm sure I can," she answered. And she opened her van. George handed his dinosaur to her and she took a good look at it. Doc McStuffins then began to push the stuffing back into the dinosaur and she repaired the hole. "There you are," she smiled, "all fixed. He's as good as new." George picked his dinosaur up. He was so happy. "You take care of him now," she said to George. Peppa came to have a look. "Wow," she cried, "thank you very much. You're very welcome." "Would you like a lift?" she asked. "Yes, please," replied Peppa. "We're supposed to be going to the beach." "Then I'll take you there," answered the dog. And she closed the side of the van and hopped into the driver's seat. They were soon off to the beach. They could see Emily and Rebecca on the beach. "Thank you again," said Peppa. "No problem," smiled Doc, and she was gone. Peppa and George went to see their friends, and they all started to paddle in the sea. George was very careful with his dinosaur after that.
Who wants to go for a picnic? Shouted Daddy Pig. Me, said Peppa. And me, said George. I thought you might say yes, said Daddy Pig. The camper van is packed and ready to go. I'll just lock up, said Mummy Pig, and she went in the house while Daddy got Peppa and George in the van. All ready, off they went. Are we there yet? Said George. George, we've only just left the house, said Daddy Pig. Actually, it didn't take them long to get to their favourite picnic spot. Peppa and George rushed down to the lake to see if they could see any jumping fish. I saw one, said Peppa, and they rushed back to tell Mummy and Daddy had started getting the picnic table out. Food will be ready soon, said Daddy, so don't go too far. They ran off towards the lake again. Peppa watched the lake carefully, and this time 2 fish jumped out. Picnic's ready, shouted Daddy. Peppa ran back. She was hungry. Where's George? Said Mummy. They all looked around for him. There he is, said Peppa. George was at the top of a tree. George, come down, shouted Daddy. I can't, said George. I'm stuck. A little distance away, a periscope was scanning the area and fixed its gaze on George. There's a pig in trouble, said Ryder. Seems to be stuck up a tree. This was the Paw Patrol lookout, always on standby to carry out a rescue. Marshall, this one's for you and your ladder. Marshall slid down the chute and got into his fire truck. He sped towards the picnic spot. It didn't take him long to arrive. Marshall here to help, said Marshall. Thank you, said Daddy Pig. George is stuck. Don't worry, I'll soon have him down, said Marshall. He got his truck in position and started raising the ladder. George was now able to reach the ladder and, relieved, managed to climb down. Thank you, said George. I won't climb trees again. Daddy Pig thanked Marshall. He told him they were just about to eat and would he like to join them. He agreed and they sat around the table. Mummy Pig had found a big juicy bone for Marshall. Thanks for watching our story. Don't forget to like and subscribe and then see more by clicking on one of these clips. See you soon.